there's a popular misconception that wind generation facilities in New Hampshire and throughout the country are creating revenue and jobs for people within our country. And while there are some temporary jobs created, they are very specialized jobs, so they don't create a mass influx of jobs to any particular region or community. The other concept is that it's revenue that's being created within our country from our natural resources for the benefit of people within our country, and nothing could be further from the truth. Without naming any specific companies, in New Hampshire there are 2 or 3 key players and a few more lesser known players, none of whom are actually American companies. One in particular has its base of operation in Spain. It has shareholders worldwide, including in the United States, but its base of operation is in Spain. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about how the money that's generated from these wind turbines, what little money is created from them, how it moves from a particular wind farm to, in this case, Spain.
What we're going to talk about is the relationship between the wind farm its managerial offices, its parent company, and then a host of other parent companies that come after it. But the first thing you have to understand is that even if a wind farm is in Oshkosh, New Hampshire, so we don't use any real towns, its parent company is in all likelihood in another place, like say Colorado. Well, that wouldn't be a parent company, that would be a management office. So there's a relationship between this Colorado office and the wind farm. The Colorado office, however, is not the residence or the registered state for the company. So you have a New Hampshire wind company with an office that's out of state, handling all the financial affairs and the management overall. That in turn is managed by a parent company that is most often, in fact in every instance I've seen so far in New Hampshire, most often in Delaware. So you have a turbine, a wind generation facility, electrical generation facility, that's managed out of state, that is in turn owned, the offices are owned by a Delaware company. Now the state of Delaware is important to this. From there, that Delaware company has another parent company in Delaware. That's kind of strange, isn't it? Well, there's a reason for it. Then you have another parent company, usually, also in Delaware. But we're not done. So what happens is this. The wind farm makes money. The money gets sent to the Colorado facility. The Colorado facility has the money sent, or the bulk of the money sent to this Delaware company. From there, the money continues up from one Delaware company to another, leaving a small licensing fee with each subsidiary company. Not a licensing fee, it's leaving a small stipend to cover the expenses. The licensing fee, in fact, goes up to the parent Delaware company. And it continues that way until it gets to here. So you have the wind generation putting the bulk of its revenues into an office that is out of state, which is in turn controlled by a Delaware company, which has a parent Delaware company, which has yet another parent Delaware company. This can go on indefinitely, and it's very difficult to ascertain how many parent companies are in there. Delaware is a unique state in that it protects the information regarding Delaware registered companies to the point where it's impossible to determine who owns or controls the majority interest of these companies. What happens from there, when it gets to this final United States Delaware parent company, is we go across the ocean to, in some cases, Spain or Portugal or Germany, but let's say it's Spain. pardon my handwriting. The money goes to Spain. Okay, over the ocean to Spain, where it sits in a holding company. Now, from there, that money can go anywhere, and we have no idea of where it goes. It could even come all the way back to a shell corporation in Delaware. But the money flows thusly. Turbine generates money. Money goes to Colorado or another state. Money is then sent to Delaware, which sends it to a parent company within Delaware, which sends it to another parent company within Delaware, which sends it to the holding company in Spain through a series of other smaller companies. That shouldn't be of too huge a concern, except that the money is leaving the state and the United States, and so there's very little exponential earning power of that money in the United States. It does not create jobs. It does not benefit many shareholders in the U.S. It is a conduit. These companies act as a conduit to get the money to the holding company, which is in Spain. The bigger concern, the more immediate concern, should be this. In the event that this turbine company ceases to operate a particular wind farm, obviously the money is not going to flow anymore because it's not generating electricity that it can sell. But it has the ability to leave. All these parent companies have the ability to act as a shield, I guess, to protect the holding company where the assets are held. Because what would happen is this. If this company goes under, the damaged party, either a town or a landlord or whomever, has to sue this company and serve them in this office. So we have two states where the papers are held for this parent company. Once we get the information that we subpoena and we bring it back to our lawsuit and we sue them in the New Hampshire courts, hopefully, in all likelihood, the damaged party would get a judgment. But a judgment is simply a piece of paper. What has to happen from there is we have to go over to the Delaware courts and sue in Delaware to exercise our judgment. Then we could possibly get a judgment against this Delaware company. However, once we get a judgment against this company, we now have to sue this Delaware company at expense to ourselves. Then we have to sue yet another Delaware company, assuming there are only 3 Delaware companies here. In each one of these cases, in all likelihood, the damaged party, their suit would be honored in the form of a new judgment in each one of these corporations in the Delaware court system. The problem with that is that there would be, in all likelihood, no assets held by any of these companies. They hold no assets. The assets are all over here. So what has to happen is, after we successfully sue all these parties, the damaged party has to get in its rowboat, go over to Spain, get on bent knee in front of this magistrate in Spain, and ask them to honor a United States judgment. The cost of that is exorbitant. It's beyond exorbitant. And the likelihood of the Spanish courts honoring a state of New Hampshire court's judgment is not very great. What they would probably say is, that is all valid evidence, and you are more than welcome to sue the Spanish company in the Spanish court using your judgment and all of its supporting documents as evidence in Spain, which incidentally wouldn't ensure that you would collect on your judgment, because the company that you're suing initially in Spain may also be a shell. In all likelihood it is. So you have a series of shell companies coming all the way back to this little wind farm development in New Hampshire, and you have no recourse to collect in the event that there are any damages or that the place becomes obsolete or abandoned. Right now, there's a policy at the SEC, the Site Evaluation Committee, that says that there has to be a plan for dismantling. However, the SEC historically has allowed the towns to work directly with the companies, which sounds like a good idea until you realize that in many cases there's some confusion from what the company presents as to how much money does it cost to dismantle one single wind turbine. That's an issue that hasn't been resolved yet really, and it's something that has to be dealt with in order to ensure that the townspeople of the various towns within the state of New Hampshire are not damaged by a big company in Spain abandoning its operation in small town New Hampshire. So that's what it looks like. I know this is a big mess, I apologize for that, but what it does is it tells you how this works. And it's something that the public has to be aware of and that our government has to be aware of to understand the potential risk that we are facing if these companies continue to abandon wind turbine operations as they have historically in the U.S.
All the stuff that we have gained from all these processes would in all likelihood, but not necessarily, be admissible in the Spanish court system. But we'd be starting at square one at a tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal expenses with no assurance of collection on the original judgment. What this does in effect is creates a bulletproof vest for these organizations to prevent themselves from ever actually having to pay for their responsibilities. If a tower falls over, if the company goes bankrupt, if Spain goes bankrupt, and so there's nothing left to prop up these tax-funded companies in Spain, we have no recourse. And so the liability will be held by A, the property owners, or the municipality itself, or the state.